XSI has a now fully redesigned world-class particle system. Here we're going to look at the concept of events. The first one triggered another 20 particles to be emitted. We have the initial rocket and the explosion. All we do is have a look at the explosion here, and we can see some of the properties, and there are the events. We create a new event, simply click on here. Let's say we'll create a shower, something like that, another shower of particles. And let's go and have a look at this. So when it reaches, say, about 10% of its age, we want them to emit and disappear. We can also just pick different actions from here: stick, script, bounce, emit, but emit and disappear for this time. We want to create a new source for them, and here we are, shower emission. Create a new particle type for it. I don't know, each of those will emit, say, 20 particles. They'll spread 20 degrees. All of these also have variance. We can put a variance of the spread, so it doesn't look quite so uniform. We'll keep the same sort of speed, something like that. We can change the colour to, say, green. Yes, there we go. And we can play around with the size of this, say 1 with a variance of 0.5. Again, slightly randomising the distribution. So if we go back to the beginning and say go back to here now, boom, there they go, they've emitted another one. But they didn't last too long, so what we can do is go back into the particle in time and say, well, we need to make you last a little longer, say 20 seconds, something like that. So the first one triggers 20 to come out of here. Each of these has rotations on them, and they trigger another 20 each of those. Perhaps it is still a little too uniform, so what we want to do is be able to sort of slightly change the mass of some of these properties, and again we can do that with events. So inside here there was our first particle age. Inside our particle type we can go to the events and say another new one please, and let's call it script. We can fully script the behavior of any particle type or particle cloud. Here we have a multiple trigger events. The first one was a Y position. When it hit 20 it would change. We can see we've got collision, speed. I'm going to use every nth particle. So every 10th particle we will use to trigger a script. And that script is a very simple script, something like in particle dot mass. And we will change the mass to something like 0. In particle dot mass equals 0. So back to the beginning, let's just change this. So as they explode you can start to see some of them don't quite, but perhaps we want them to actually come down to earth at some point, so we'll say 0.5. So they do have some mass, but not quite the same as the others. Let's just play from here. So there we go, they are coming down, but unfortunately they're going to go straight through the floor. We need to have another event to actually have these bounce on the ground. We could actually do this automatically by creating an obstacle, but we can also use and be very specific inside here. So what we'll do is create a new event and say call this one bounce. And what we'll do is go and have a look at this. So inside here we will say, alright, when you collide with something we want you to simply bounce. What will you bounce with? Well, we'll pick our obstacle and there it's done. The colour is a bit uniform as well, so if we do one final thing, go into here and actually change the colour, we can play around with the amount of hue, luminance, saturation, as well as the alpha. So we go back to the beginning and say off to here. There we go, getting some colour variation in there. In the actual particle type itself, we can also load in presets, something if you like at any stage. Simply click on load. Here we've got a coloured blobs. There we go, they're all now blobs. So from the beginning, one event, when it hits 20, it triggers 20 new particles. When they hit about 10% of their age, they emit another 20, which are blobs. Some are scripted, so they have a different mass. We can change all of those interactively. There we go, another event as they bounce around there.